All right, so the first thing you need to know when learning layout is you need to know the box model and box sizing border box. So this video is a review because we've already looked at the box model and box sizing border box, but this is the foundation of layout. You need to be aware of this. And so the first thing we're going to talk about or review is the box model. And the box model is the concept that everything on a web page is a box, even when it looks like a circle. It's still a box. It's just a box that's had the corners rounded. And so what you're seeing is a circle contained in an invisible box. And there's an image of that, again, on Shayhow's website. If I go to opening the box model and scroll down, I can see here, all right, well, visually that would be a circle, right? This image of Shay. But it's contained still in a box. Even though I used border radius on that and made it circular, it's still a box. So the box model is this concept that everything on a web page is a box. And here's a picture of that. I have a little web page that displays that. By the way, this is where we saw box model and box sizing border box before. And this is where we're reviewing it. So here's an image from W3 Schools of the box model. And if I bring that up, you can see this is the box model. So everything is a box. And that box contains content, whatever the content is, an image, pictures, same thing as an image, text, and then it has padding, and then it has a border, and it has a margin. And we could set the padding, border, and margin. So that's the box model. And then box sizing, we already saw this one here, box sizing border box allows us to change both the padding and the border, but not the margin, allows us to change the padding and the border and no longer have the padding and the border increase the size of the box. Okay, so here I have no padding and I add padding. You can see everything between the content and the border, right? I now have all this padding right here. If you remember the box model, here's the content, here's the padding, here's the border, there's the margin, here's the content, here's the border, right? There's no padding there, and maybe there's some margin there. So here's the content, and then here is the padding, this space right here, and then here's the border, right? And then maybe, like I said, there's some margin there. But by increasing padding, I've increased the size of my box. And that could be problematic when we do layout, because if you add a little padding to something and your box increases, it could throw off how everything else is positioned on the page. And so we have this setting, box sizing, border box. And the way I remember that, is it border box, box sizing, or is it box sizing, border box? Right? Do you see the difference in what I'm saying? Border, box, box sizing, or box sizing, border box, right? Which is the property and which is the value? Well, this is the property and that's the value. So this is incorrect. And the way I remember that it is, that would be incorrect right there. And the way that I remember that it is this way, that this is the correct way, that this is the property and that's the value, is a box goes around stuff. And here I have a box on the outside, on each outside of this deal. So when I have box sizing border box, the box is on the outside, right? The word. Just this is a mnemonic device. But this would be incorrect because the box is on the inside, and that's not the way we want it. So you remember box sizing border box because box goes on the outside. And so that's what box sizing border box does, right? It's a declaration with a property and a value. And when we apply it to some box, right? Everything is a box, right? So here's the box model. When we apply it to something, when we add padding and border, it no longer increases the width. And so you can see here, no padding, and it has box sizing border box, but I add that padding, it brings my content inside, shrinks my content internally to add that padding, but my width did not change. So that's box sizing border box. And here's an example with padding. Here's an example with a border. A really big border was added and it did not increase the size of my box, right? Because padding and border no longer increase width when you have the declaration box sizing border box. So there's just one more example of that here where this one does padding, right? And then padding here, just different colors. And so I did that one right there. Okay, so that's the first step in understanding layout. Not too difficult, just the way it is. you have the box model, and then you also have box sizing border box. And understanding the box model, that we have content, and then around that content is padding, and then we have a border, and then outside that border we could set margins to keep other things away, right? That's the box model. And then box sizing border box, when we set that declaration of property and value, box sizing property value border box, when we set that on an element, then the padding and the border no longer increase the size of the element. Okay, step one, that's step one of understanding layout, is making sure you understand the box model, and then also box sizing border box.